Okay, so here we go into Germany too. So it does appear to be a KJF as he built over here. Um, of note, one thing right off the bat that I do take note is that he did use uh, one less shorter than I do. He built a transport here, so he's got two transports over there and two transports over here. I can tell you right now, I do know Mray is extremely clever with his boats in the Pacifics and maneuvering things around to take and then land UK or whatever. I played him enough. I know he is extremely clever with this stuff. So generally speaking, when I see U.S. build a transport US-1, I'm like, well, that's one more boat I got an advantage on. In this case, I'm going to not necessarily say that, and see what he does. It does make this a little bit more interesting here, to say the least, and I actually need to think on this for a second. Yeah, no, I'm still okay. I do need to be careful here. I need to make sure that I have fighters before carrier set up. And that's because if he hits and he hits a carrier, then the fighters are going to crash unless I take Egypt, which I've kind of changed my plans against, that I'm not leaning towards taking Egypt. I could go for the TJ battle and blitz through Egypt and take that right now. Um, there is some variability, obviously, so I'd be one infantry, one artillery, one tank, one bomber, one battleship versus his two infantry, artillery, and a fighter, which there's definitely pros to that. Um, but it's not a guarantee I take it. It's like a 50-50 coin flip. Whereas I also, if you notice, with Russia, and this is how I know we're playing a smart Russia, is he did not trade everything he possibly could. He doesn't need to. Um, if I was him, I may have traded this, although I think he realized that I can use my battleship to come in here as well. I probably would have traded this and built just a little bit more here and stacked here. Um, but what I'm going to use, I'm going to go ahead and use the battleship to trade Caucasus, and that'll make it where UK 1, 2, 3 fighters can't hit me. US has a 1, 2, 3. Now they'll have taken that, so they could land 4 there, but then they only got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you could do fighter bomber on the battleship, which I think everybody knows it's doable, but it's a little more risky than people would necessarily like to do, I would think. So that'll help me keep the battleship alive a turn, which then means next turn I could look at coming down into bringing the extra guys to Egypt. So I think this turn I'm just going to blitz, pull this guy in, and then threaten there. Wow, hopefully I can bring Japan in to put some pressure on India, and then that'll let Germany break free into South Africa. We have just enough to stack Karelia. So my big strategy plan here, a couple of talking points. One, he's got a huge number of Russians already. Round two, we got a huge number of Russians. That's the benefit of the West Russia jam, right? Um, so that means, I'm not going to target G7. I'm going to set my target as G9, to be honest, for taking Moscow, and we're gonna see. It may be tough. I've never actually faced the West Russia jam, so I haven't done the numbers and crunching on just how that comes about. But one thing I do know now, I'm not gonna have to do a lot of defensive stacks or adding defense. I'm going to be streaming units into here. So if I get a stack against Russia, I'm not going to be using the fighters to defend it. So the fighters now, in a KGF, fighters are extremely valuable because they are what's going to give you that defensive value you need. But I don't need the fighters for defensive value at all because in my bulk stack moves, my bulk stack moves. And if we sit, it's because we already moved there, and they're not going to be out. Russia's not going to be building units faster than I'm going to be pumping them in. So, it's not going to be in need for a defensive use of fighters until after Moscow falls at some point. So their use is attack. Well, their attack is 3, the same as the tank. So they're no more valuable than a tank right now. I'm stretching it a little bit here. Obviously, they got unit, movement costs, and there is some potential defensive stacking versus the Allies' Atlantic. But where I'm going at all with all of that is I do have 7 units that can hit his fleet, and I think I'm going to take that. And so I'm not going to use the bomber here. I'm just going to use the battleship. I'm going to grab my infantry artillery, move them quickly to the front line, use this extra infantry here so that we'll have 2-1 in a battleship burst there. And I've got 7 versus his 6 here. I'm not necessarily looking to kill the fighters unless he takes fighters before carrier. So let me pull this battle up on the calculator real quick just to kind of talk this through here. Two destroyers, cruiser, carrier. So this is fighters before carrier. So if he protects his carrier, we got an 83% chance of wiping them out at a 15-point profit value. And like I said, on average, I'm losing 4 fighters. The fighters aren't as valuable to me as they once were before. If he does carrier before fighter, and we just take a 1-round strafe at him, we need 4 hits and his fighters are grounded. And so that is the 69% chance of that happening. Or wait, no, sorry, excuse me, over here. So the top 45% chance is that the carrier lives. So we got a 55% chance in essence of getting the carrier, and at the cost of 3 fighters. And then of course we'd always go a second round if we didn't. But anyways, whole point being, keeping the Atlantic fleet in check is a big deal to me, especially with my battleship still living, because I could also potentially bring that battleship this way next turn too. And there's just different things that we have options for, especially if we can ground his fleet here too. So I'm going to do it. I am going to go for that battle that normally in a KGF I would never even consider. And it's risky in a KJF, but I just feel like I don't want to give him this big fleet going already. So I am going to max my builds out. We're going to use artillery. We're going to use our slow ground first, maximize our purchasing power, because G2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So really G4 build with slow ground 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm willing up to G4 to build infantry and artillery in Italy, G5 for France, and then we'll just have to see how it looked before we start building more tanks. So we're not blinking. We're going full force into here. So we'll have, worst case, 12 and 12. 12 infantry, 12 tanks, right? Move that out of the way. With the AA, and he's got 23, 4, and 2 fighters. So So best case scenario, he's losing -12 at 35% chance. So as Germany, I'm good with that right now. I could, if I didn't want to do that, I could just go for that simple wipe of the single transport here rather than hitting his fleet. But I'd rather really slow the development here. This may be a mistake. Maybe I should just use my fleet, wipe the transport and this destroyer really easily, and make him build more fleet here next time. But I just feel the need for greed. So we're gonna play need for greed. All right, so we're gonna have this infantry non-combat here, this infantry non-combat here, and then pump our units forward. It does give us, we'll have to move some this way because we don't want to just, we got to have some backstop for Ukraine. Which actually, that being said, we might hold off on, we'll probably end up taking them in there, but we also may want to have them in backstop, just not all the way to the front yet. That way they could come back and help attack there. Let's see, if all my infantry survive, how many tanks do I need there to be comfortable? Yeah, so I'd want 10 tanks there. So we'll keep 2 tanks back that we can put in Baltics to help with Ukraine if needed. I mean, that C Zone 7 battle, I know it's risky, but I just, against great players like this, crud. All right. You do got to take some risk against great players like Mray, so. Good thing those tanks were rolling in behind. All right. Probably only taking 1 swipe at this. I really want 4 hits right off the bat. 4 hits. All right, good. Oh, he did get a lot of hits back, though. More than I wanted. Should have only gotten 3 hits to back, dang it. Alright, well, I got 1 bonus hit, he got 2 bonus hits. More costly to me in the end. I mean, this is for him, but I do think it's ultimately more, cost me more than it cost him. Let's see, we do need to watch that he could do those guys. Okay, So I actually think he can't put anybody into season 3, so I don't need to protect up to there per se, and I'm not really going to dead zone West Russia yet, obviously. So I'd rather protect him from trading here right now. AA up. That gives me infantry, artillery, 2 tanks, my fighter, my bomber, plus this guy battleship could pick up 2 to help with Ukraine. Gives me a mini stack on France with his transports all in range. I'd rather, best he can do is take Northwest Europe, build a carrier, move his destroyer up. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough to survive against that. But hopefully that maybe gives me the opportunity to bring the battleship back next time and him not be able to dead zone 14. We'll have to see. Otherwise, we'll come down here. All right. Well, maybe it's good. Maybe it was bad. Who knows? We'll find out soon enough, I suppose. All right. I think I am going to leave this artillery here, though, just because of this. Do I want artillery down here? I don't think we need to be an artillery. I think it can just be infantry there. Oh, there we go. Should turn out to be a fun one.